Hello, everybody. We are live on VCTV. This is Lindy here. I'm from La Token, and this is Derek from Orchid Protocol. Hi, Derek.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well, thanks.
Okay. So let's jump straight into the show. We are going to be doing an AMA session with Derek today to learn more about him and Orchid Protocol. So, just a disclaimer before we start, whatever we say in this show is not investment advice. Please do your own research and do not rely on any information here to make any form of investment. Okay, so let's jump straight in. Okay, Mr. Derek, I came across one of your AMAs in YouTube in which you commented on how you always feel like you're the oldest in the crypto industry. Now, may I ask how old are you actually?
I turned 38 in December, so I'm pushing 40.
Okay, so give us a quick brief on your background and how you ended up here today.
Sure, yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. I'm actually a system administrator by trade. That's what I went to school for, systems, network administration, stuff like that. So as you can imagine, I'm the person in the family that everybody comes to for tech support, which I think we all recognize. Probably if you're in this industry, you're probably also that person, and that can be a real burden sometimes. Um, so I've got a technical background, just not a programmer or a software developer, and I've been pretty much all over the place. I've worked in sales, I've worked in IT, obviously, I've done tech support, and a few years ago, I landed working from home with Site Five, a very large, it was at the time well-renowned web hosting company, and so working from home, I really enjoyed that. I dabbled around a little bit after that at a couple of development agencies. And then 4 years ago, I met Ethan Buckman, who's a co-founder of Cosmos and Tendermint and Informal Systems. He's got quite a bit going on. And Anthony DiIorio, who rage quit crypto earlier this year at a conference not far from Ottawa. And I got hooked. I just couldn't believe I had heard about Bitcoin a couple of years earlier, probably in 2015, and when I was working at Site Five, and I just couldn't figure out how to get any at the time, or how to mine it with my not so great, custom built CPU or computer that I built a few years before that, and so I just kind of left it. Very bad decision in hindsight, but 2 years later, I discovered smart contracts and what they could do, and I just couldn't leave it alone anymore. So I went home, started doing research. I found out about ETHLend, who's just about to have their ICO. ETHLend is now called Aave, for those who have not been around long enough to know about that rebrand, and Bloom Protocol and a bunch of other projects at the time. Literally about 4 years, right, or a few years ago, right now. And I got really into Bloom, decentralized identity, alternative credit scoring. Love this idea for my family overseas, and I got really heavily emotionally invested in their community and in the project. And a few months later, they offered me a role as head of community relations. And the rest is kind of history. 3.5 or 3 3/4, almost 4 years later, I'm still here. I've been working in the industry full time since then, and working from home full time since then. So when everybody was saying like, "Oh, I've got to work from home because of COVID," I'm like, "You're 2 years behind. Like, let's go. I got lots of tips for you to stay sane when you're at home by yourself all day." So yeah, that's kind of how like most things, I just kind of fell into it, but it's treated me really well. I love meeting new people and learning about new projects. So it satisfies my my ADD in that regard really well.
You've been in crypto for a pretty long time, yeah? That's ever since the ICO period. Nowadays,
Yeah,
people are not doing ICO anymore. We're doing IEO, IDO, and all the funky names.
yeah. And I mean, I think those are great. Like it's obviously the law has caught up with a lot of that, and so things are a lot more stringent. Pretty much everything has KYC in place now, for better or worse. But I think if it helps keep the projects honest and the people putting hoping that project succeeds, keeping them honest as well. It's probably better for us in the long run. The ICO craze and all the scams, I think they damage the industry, and even the rug pulls on Binance Smart Chain and increasingly on Polygon because it's super cheap to deploy there. Those things damage the industry, and I hate seeing those things. If you're going to raise money, do it and then build something. Like, do the thing you say you're going to do, or just don't do it at all. Get into the industry and actually do something meaningful instead, because that's how we all succeed.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, anyway, the industry is still pretty young, and most of the people in the industry are like 20-ish years old. I think both
Yeah,
of
I
us
know.
are probably the rare few who are above 30. Yeah, I'm also 30, by the way. I'm with you, above 30.
Oh, well, then by
Yeah,
crypto standards, you're ancient.
yeah, I know, right? So, anyway, I see you are still very trendy. I recently was browsing through your Twitter and I saw your NFT mints. Now, I
Mm.
was just wondering whether Orchid has plans to move into NFTs as well.
I can't say they do. And the stuff I was even tweeting about the other day, that was literally just me tweeting off the cuff. I'm like, hey, what if we did this? I have no say in whether Orchid actually builds an NFT project. I think it'd be super cool to do something around the themes that Orchid cares about anti-censorship and privacy and democracy, and how technology can obviously be a force for good, but it can be used for bad as well, as we see all over the place, especially with one of your fairly close neighboring countries, based on where you are. And so I think that'd be a really cool comic, web comic or comic book, and maybe a game or something like that to build something around. But it's still an idea I need to run by the team. I'm fleshing it out in like a Google Doc right now, just to have something cohesive and comprehensive to put forth, so that people aren't asking me like a million questions of like, well, what about this, what about that. Ultimately, we'd need to scale the team. um, uh, Orchid's developers and the designers and everybody who works there are fantastic, but we don't have game design experts or comic book artists or anything like that. Chad, who does the 99% of the artwork, is amazing. If you go through our blog, that's all Chad's all Chad's work. But we can't we can't have him do everything, especially if we do that sort of thing. So that was just an idea I was spitballing the other day, and if I can convince the team to build it, great. Or somebody else, like to at least fund the development of something like that, I'll be thrilled to be part of that initiative. But there's no firm plans right now, except for maybe things we've done in the past, like Chad designing NFTs and auctioning those off, and donating those funds to charities, which is what we've done in the past. Coin Center,
On
EFF,
OpenSea,
organizations like that.
did you
Yeah.
do
So
it?
earlier this year, we held our first private virtual summit. We had Edward Snowden and Cindy Kahn from the EFF and a bunch of other really amazing people, Zuko from Zcash, and a bunch of others. And during that event, we auctioned off 5 NFTs. One of one, a special edition of Paula, our Mascot, who I know you're going to ask about later.
Is it funny?
Yes, Paula the rabbit, or the bunny if you prefer. Standing on guard, like cyberpunk, almost like a Borg, like eyepiece, and standing on guard, ready to
I
fight
think
the
I know.
digital
I think
privacy
I know which
war.
one. Hashmi, can we share the screen? Is it this one?
No, that's a virtual reality one. If you I'll grab the link while I'm talking here and send it in the private chat, so that so Hashmi can put it up. Um, anyway, we auctioned off a few of those, uh, and the funds that we raised, it wasn't a whole lot at the time, but the price of ether went up before we completed the donation. So we ended up donating 4 times more than people actually paid for the NFTs at the time. So that was great for the organizations that that we were donating the funds to, because they benefited hugely from the price increase of Ether at the time. Sorry, just logging into Rarible here. Stuff I created, I minted. Here we go. Sorry, folks. I know dead air on a live stream like this is no fun. There we go. I sent it in the private chat, so Hashmi can put it up on screen. So that was one edition. Oh, that was the variant. So I think that one actually has 4 owners, and then there was another one that only had 1. Here it is. So it's a slight color variation, but one had only 1 edition, and the other one had 4, I think. And so we auctioned those off, and we donated all the proceeds to I guess not charities, but nonprofit organizations who are very aligned with Orchid's missions and values.
I see. That's nice. So there was like an additional bonus. So this is the mascot you're talking about, is that right?
Yes, this is the badass version of Paula, where she's ready to fight.
Hey, this is really cool now. I'm sure you have many people asking you about NFTs and GameFi because it's like really, really hype now.
Yeah, definitely. It comes in a lot, but ultimately I'm just a representative of the community back to some of the developers and designers about what they'd like to see, and vice versa. What's in progress, what's happening, making sure everybody knows about that. I
Sure,
hate
sure.
information asymmetry, so we try to share as much as we can.
Nice, nice. So anyway, what's up with orchids and bunnies? So first of all, what has it got to do with privacy? And then what has orchids got to do with bunnies?
Maybe bunnies eat orchid flowers. I'm not sure.
Eh,
I don't know. I'm guessing. So I've asked about this because I was curious as well. And Amanda, who's the head of marketing at Orchid, when she joined the company, there were lots of animals being used in the marketing,
oh,
and
already?
really, I think the whole idea was to make things a lot more friendly.
Right.
ExpressVPN, NordVPN, everything's supposed to be super badass and like it's hardcore and like it's very in your face marketing. And whoever was in charge of marketing before Amanda thought, it can be a lot more friendly. This can be, it doesn't need to be all in your face all the time. And so we ended up with nice lush grass on islands and all sorts of animals, birds and rabbits and a bunch of other ones. I know Amanda came in and decided like we need to focus on one. Like there's no focus here. It's really disjointed, and in some sort of process they chose a rabbit, and have built things around. Paula is her name, Paula the rabbit, and she's the mascot. And so I know that there are some people who would prefer a more darker, in your face, type of brand. That's fine. No brand is for every person. I kind of like that it's a little bit more airy and fun and family friendly, and you don't have to explain a whole lot about uh, the marketing, as opposed to just focusing on the product and the decentralized network.
Right, right. Yeah, I love it. So anyway, what's so great about privacy, and why do privacy tokens have such a strong following? I mean, it started with Monero, and then so many other privacy coins just started jumping on board, and yeah, Orchid's one of them, one of the bigger ones. So why do people value this so much?
Uh, I don't remember who said this. It might have been Andreas Antonopoulos, or somebody else. But I think it was Edward Snowden earlier this year at our private virtual summit, and probably elsewhere. Privacy gives you freedom. It gives you freedom to think for yourself, to express yourself, to look for things that you otherwise may not have looked for in the past. Um, it lets you be you, as opposed to being the you that you think the government wants you to be, or that some private corporation wants you to be. And that, I think that's really important. And Orchid, the entire team and community really thinks that's really important. So, even things for me personally, speaking on behalf of myself, even things like sanctions against entire countries, U.S. OFAC sanctions against Iran or Venezuela or North Korea, they're targeting the governments, but instead everybody in that country suffers, and like those sorts of things, I think just ruin society in general. So when you can empower somebody to break out of a situation where they are oppressed or they have no privacy and basically therefore are oppressed and have feel like they have to behave a certain way or else they get caught for something really minor and end up in jail for something that is completely legal or at least not taboo in a different country. I think that's a bad thing, and privacy lets you do the opposite. Monero, Zcash, MobileCoin, stuff like that, I think are terrific because the vast majority of its use is for legitimate reasons. Either you're moving money between your own wallets, or you're sending money back to your family, overseas, maybe where you grew up and you're living in a more developed country now, and you're sending money back to your parents or your aunts and uncles. Or you want to buy stuff that, sorry, one second. You want to buy stuff that, again, is otherwise legal in another country, and most people would think is totally fine, but because of where you are, where you live, or at this point in time, it's illegal where you are. And I'm not talking about like super illicit drugs or things like that. I'm talking about like a computer or a phone, or it could be shoes, stuff that's just hard to get because of where you live.
Yeah, I get it. Like in certain countries,
Yeah,
like women like me, we don't have bank accounts, we can't buy stuff.
exactly. So I think if it empowers people to live a more what I would call a more normal life, considering I live in Canada, I think that's really important. So we don't call OXT a privacy token, primarily because it lives on Ethereum, so it's really not that private. Where the privacy comes in is through using the nano payments contract to actually pay for the service. So somebody, if they knew what your wallet address is, they could see that you deposited OXT into the nano payments contract. What they don't know is when the payment actually happens, and therefore how much bandwidth you've used and everything else. And the protocol itself is inherently private. Your your traffic is encrypted. It uses a private DNS service that has no logs, that is encrypted as well. It encapsulates your traffic in WebRTC so that all your traffic looks like this, like StreamYard. It looks like this type of thing, so that you're in a Zoom call, you're in a StreamYard call, or what have you. And so it makes it very, very, very difficult for anybody to figure out what you're actually doing online. They would have to man in the middle attack Cloudflare and a bunch of other services, and also get into your traffic and decrypt it and de-encapsulate it in order to figure out what's going on. And that's, while nothing's impossible, that's incredibly difficult. So that's where the real privacy comes in, is that people can't see how much you're paying and when those payments happen, because they're not coming from your wallet. They come from the nano payments contract and go directly to the bandwidth provider, and everything around your traffic is encrypted and encapsulated.
I see. So that's the differentiating factor from other cryptos, which are also supposed to be private, like Bitcoin, etc. But this is like an additional layer of privacy.
Yeah. So we're trying to abstract, where the payments are coming from, and also protect your traffic, the actual traffic going over the Orchid VPN network.
I see. So, what is the demographic of Orchid's users, and why do you think this might be? Like, do you happen to have more people from third world countries where things are more restricted, something like that?
I think we do. So Orchid doesn't use any in-app analytics software. We don't have Google Analytics or anything like that running on the website. We want to know as little as possible about you. That makes it much harder to market and target certain demographics. But I think we compensate in other ways. We have some really decent followings and good sized communities in China, Korea. We have a growing following in Japan, and pardon me, based on what I know about the rest of our community through Discord and Telegram and the types of people who follow Orchid on Twitter, I would say, yeah, there a very sizable portion of them are in countries where they feel restricted somehow. Russia. I know we have people from Iran who try to use the service again because Orchid is based in the U.S. and there are sanctions against Iran. Google and Apple can't facilitate any payments to people in Iran, and unfortunately, we're not able to help them either directly. That doesn't stop another community member from helping them out, obviously, but those are the sorts of people who are looking for a better solution and looking for a truly private way to browse the internet so that they can break free of whatever shackles are holding them back. And like I said, I think that's really important. So it's not just people there. We have people from UK, Canada, US, Australia, New Zealand, the major English speaking countries who want to do other things with the VPN. They want to bypass geographic restrictions for like Netflix or YouTube or something like that, which is I would say less important, but totally cool. That's your use case. Indonesia is also a big one. Lots of restrictions in Indonesia about what you can look for online, and so I know that there's a growing contingent there of people who are looking for cryptocurrency based solutions. Like they want to pay privately and they don't want to have an account or set up a credit card or something like that with a centralized provider.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, I was just about to ask, like, we can just build a VPN. So why the need for a token? So it's because they don't want to link it to their credit card?
Yeah, and like I think this is an argument for any organization or community building a project. You need to have ownership of your own destiny, right? Relying on USDC or Tether, like both of those tokens have blacklists built into their smart contract that they can update at any time, right? So if they think or they've been tipped off by some government agency that Lindy is using USDC to pay for something that we don't want her to buy, they can blacklist your wallet, and then you can't even move the USDC out of that wallet to try from another one. You are done. It could be a few hundred, it could be a few 100,000, doesn't matter. We've seen that happen with Tether as well. They have that built in. And so there's literally censorship built into their tokens. OXT has no such restriction or censorship built in. It's not possible for us to blacklist certain wallets. And ultimately, like I said, we want to know as little as possible about who's using the Orchid. So there's no logs, no logging capabilities built into the open source Node software. There's no in-app analytics in the Orchid VPN app that you download from the App Store or the Play Store or the APK from GitHub. And if you don't have control over your own destiny by having your own token, you're literally at the whims of other organizations and networks to decide whether you should be able to use their token or not. And while that inevitably leads to projects who don't need a token and are just there for a pump and dump, Orchid is 4 years into this journey, maybe 5, and it's not going away anytime soon. The community is here to build something significant and long lasting, and having its own token helps with that.
Yeah, it reminds me of Apple. They are quite similar in the sense that they try to keep as little information as possible, and a lot of times they refuse to release information to the authorities.
Mm-hmm. Well, often it's information they can't provide because they don't have like the private key to decrypt. But yeah, and even what was I going to say? You can also make an argument that they try to control their own destiny as well. They build their own software, they build their own hardware. It doesn't always work out the way other people would like necessarily, but I'm talking to you from a MacBook Pro, and I just put my iPhone down before we got started here, and a big part of it was realizing one day how invasive Google Maps was by default on my old Android phone. Just I went back and I was like, oh my god, like there's so much here, and I don't remember, given the permission to track every single little thing I do, and and it was like, here you drove, here you walked, you were running over here. I'm like, oh my God, I'm done. I'm out. Like I opted out of Google Maps, like data collection. And then I dumped Android and went to iOS and an iPhone. Yeah. So, there's no perfect solution, but I feel it's a better solution. So.
Right, right. So speaking of big data, Facebook is right now fighting a lot of fire over data and things that happen on their platform. But the fact is that they are really just a platform and they have
Mhm.
little control about what people post. So do you think this might become an issue for Orchid as well in the future? Like you're just the middleman and you don't know what's going on, but if you get big enough, people might try to pin that on you.
I mean, knowing what I know about governments and elected representatives and how far behind the curve they typically are, uh, it's yeah, it could happen. Anything can happen. Uniswap is under investigation apparently, so anything could happen. But the reality is that uh, uh, I'm going to get the entity name wrong, so I'm not going to bother. There's an entity that makes the software available. There's a different entity that has the treasury of tokens, and that haven't been released yet, but could be released to help fund another organization to help build additional software. And Orchid doesn't run any of the nodes anyway, so you'd have to pinpoint 5, 6, later 50, 100 different providers, all convince them that they need to install some spyware on behalf of some government agency, and hope that it works. And ultimately, I'm not convinced it would. So Orchid Labs, Orchid Technologies doesn't have any data. The node providers in the default curator have all committed to not installing any logging software or any other, or bypassing the way things are right now. Um, Conceivably, the FBI could spin up their own Orchid smart contract, and not a smart contract, but their own curated list of servers, and advertise it. But then that's up to you whether to use that list of servers or not. You're more than welcome to continue using the default curator and rely on the fact that these providers have all been vetted and all commit to the same values that Orchid's community does. Instead of using some random VPN provider you've never heard of, but is apparently relying on Orchid's on the technology that Orchid's made available. That's up to you.
Right, right. So, in order to avoid all these legal drama, a lot of projects are now going decentralized and renouncing ownership, being anonymous, etc. So, yeah, that's what most projects are doing right now to be community managed. That's what they call it. Do you see Orchid heading in that direction?
Speaking only on behalf of myself, I think that's an inevitability. I have no idea when that would happen, and what sort of restructuring would need to happen in order to make that happen. But I could see it happening. I'm not aware of any discussions to make it happen anytime soon. Um, but yeah, in the long term, that could happen. You could have a foundation of some kind, like the Graph Foundation, or uh, Badger DAO or something like that, that is overseeing things, handing out money to various people and organizations to actually build additional stuff or do marketing work or what have you. I could see that happening. Is it going to? I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like everything is moving towards a decentralization these days. Decentralized finance is a big thing right now. Everybody's all about it. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
see.
so now moving on to something lighthearted. Let's share screen. And so I was just browsing through your Twitter and I saw that you had some communication with Elon Musk. Has
I'm
that
sure he
taken
didn't see it,
place?
but
Yeah, this post in particular, and Elon Musk even replied to you, is this a legit Elon Musk Twitter?
well, that's definitely his Twitter account, right? It's verified and it's at Elon Musk. There's the L is an L. It's not a capital I or anything
This is
like
so
that.
cute.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is super cute.
tell us about
It's
it.
it that's actually not the first time that somebody in the Orchid community, at least, no, and then I'm not saying Elon is part of the Orchid community, but there's not the first time that somebody has tweeted that particular uh, ASCII bunny with and something related to Orchid or Orchid's token in the past. So I don't know if Elon Musk was playing off of that. Honestly, I have no idea if Elon Musk was had Orchid had Paula in mind when he tweeted that. But I thought, you know what? Maybe he just discovered Orchid, and obviously Orchid is all about the bunnies, as we've identified. And he was and he's excited about the project and the technology. It's a possibility. I have not had any communications with Mr. Musk. I'm happy to take his call anytime. But
Yeah. Well,
remains to
it
be
just
seen at this
seems like
point.
he's just full of praise for Orchid, which is a good thing because recently, whatever he said about cryptocurrency has been zooming up, like Floki Inu, Shiba
Oh
Inu.
gosh. Yeah. I don't I'm a volunteer moderator in the hashtag DeFi Telegram group, so I see a lot of the shilling that happens there. Most of it gets removed by Protectron, machine learning AI Telegram bot that reads every message and tries to figure out if it's spam or not. So I have nothing against those projects, but when people are literally just posting very very shilly messages about those tokens, Protectron gets rid of most of those. But yeah, I still see it. On the other hand, hopefully Mr. Musk has discovered Orchid and is looking at using the default curator for Tesla, SpaceX's, and OpenAI's needs, and Neuralink. He also has that company. I forgot to mention that one the other day. He's just as busy as me and Ethan Buckman, or not. I don't know. Hopefully he has, and if he wants to use the default curator, that's great. If he wants those companies to actually spin up their own infrastructure and use the same technology, they could do that too, and still rely on the nano payments contract and OXT to power and pay for those services amongst their own nodes and clients pointing at their curated list, which is for an enterprise, I think, really cool.
Right, right. Okay, so if Mr. Elon Musk is happening to be watching this now or maybe later, we are looking out for funding for NFT projects, and hopefully we can make bunnies get more hype than Inus. So, yeah,
Sounds
speaking
good.
of venture capitalism, Orchid is funded, right? I saw it has about 50 million or so in funding.
I'm not intimately familiar with all the details, but yeah, before I joined the team, they Orchid as a company raised some funding. There's actually links to SEC filings on the website. Those have been up for a long time, since before I joined the company almost 2 years ago, and yeah, those are public. And
Right.
there's also a Masari profile with all the information you could ever want about investors in the company, Orchid Labs, or Orchid Technologies. I can't recall which, and who, and advisors and stuff like that. So,
Right, right. Yeah, because that's also a thing right now. Recently I was asking one project about funding, and they said that they rejected a lot of funding proposals from venture capitalists because they want to go decentralized. And if they accept money, it means that they are centralized. So I don't know where the industry is going. Yeah. Oh, there's a question from the audience about staking. Derek, do you want to address that? Staking of Orchid?
I'll do the best I can. Sure. Oh, Michael. So, yeah. So anybody can start a node right now. You can download the software, get it up and running, go through all the steps to set up your staking wallet, and even join or set up your own curated list. The only thing that's missing right now is the documentation. I've been talking with the team about trying to get that released for a while now. I haven't been successful yet, but hopefully I will be soon. But there are people who can get things downloaded, make install, solve any dependencies, get it up and running. I know people have had success in the past, but yeah, like I said, that documentation to help with that process is the missing piece there.
Okay, so do we have more questions from the audience? Okay, looks like we don't. So I guess we're about done for today's session. Anything else you'd like to add, Derek? Any future developments of Orchid that we would like to let the audience know?
Oh, I wish. I'm not allowed to say things like that. I haven't actually looked at it myself. I know a bunch of people have been watching the GitHub repo. There are a lot of them do, and have been looking for clues as to what's happening, what's in development. I know what you know. It's all open source. So when commits happen, that's when I see them. That's when you see them. Again, I don't like information asymmetry. So and neither does the team for whenever we can avoid it. And the rest of the community. So what's there is there. I think the really cool big thing that's coming up for us is the next iteration of the private online summit, private virtual summit. That's happening November 15th. We have a keynote with Glenn Greenwald, who of course is one of the journalists who helped break the Edward Snowden story, and so many years ago now. So Glenn Greenwald will be speaking, have the keynote speaker slot there, and we're I guess I could say we're about to announce a bunch more speakers this week and next, leading up to the event. So it's going to be a really good time. I'll be the MC again, and so hopefully people will register. It's a free event. We're going to broadcast it everywhere we possibly can, and no registration platform this time. All you got to do is put in your email so that we can remind you that things are starting day of. So that's November 15th. You can sign up at orchid.com/priv8. We call it private.
Okay, I would definitely be signing up. Looking forward to seeing you then. Well, it was a good time. And again, I would like to remind the audience that whatever was conversed here is not investment advice. Please do not rely on it to put any of your money. So, well, it was a good time with you. Thank you very much, Derek.
Thanks for having me, Lindy. This was fun.
Thank you very much, audience, for watching. Have a good day, everybody.